Good morning, it's Lisa with Lisa Heal Yourself, and today I want to talk about the inner critic. But I want to talk first about your outer critics. So a lot of us who have chronic illness, chronic suffering, chronic pain, chronic symptoms, chronic fatigue, whatever it is, an illness, have grown up or have had at some point in their lives criticism. Probably from your parents, probably from one or more of your parents, your closest friends, your spouse, whoever it was, but it always stems back to your upbringing, where you felt there was pressure on you to do the right thing, to say the right thing, to think the right thing. People might have always been watching you and saying, well, that's good, but do this too, add this, do this a little bit better. There was maybe a look. Maybe, you can recognize or you can feel the critical look of your father or your mother's gaze. They don't even have to speak. You do something, you say something, they look over, you catch their eyes, and you already feel it. You feel it, you internalize. I was wrong, I was bad, I was not good enough, right? And that leads to feelings of shame and guilt. Okay, so this is what we're taught, that somehow we need to be perfect, that we need to get it right. And so why am I talking about this? Why is that important when we're children? This need to get it right and to be perfect means love. It means acceptance, and it means approval. These are all things that we seek at an early age because it makes us feel safe. Because if we don't have the approval, the acceptance, and the love of mom and dad, then we are to fend for ourselves in this big bad world. Then who will take care of us? Who will be there for us? Right? We'll be all alone, and that's a fearful thought. That instills this primal fear in children. And so as you grow, you often internalize this judgment, this criticism, as this need to perform, a need to do better, a need to please, a need to get it right, a need to be successful, a need to do something, and we often crave pleasing these people or doing it right so that we don't catch that look, so that we don't see disappointment or disapproval in their eyes. So at a very basic biological level, it's about safety, but more so, as you grow, it's just about not wanting to feel that shame, that guilt, that abandonment, that aloneness, right? So criticism and judgment, people with chronic illness are often very, very consumed with it, usually by parents, by friends, and by society at large, very worried about how you will be perceived and if you'll be accepted and approved of, right? And if you will belong. A lot of people feel this sense of abandonment from the world at large, that you've screwed it up and you don't belong. So we have this feeling that we're somehow not good enough, or we've somehow done it wrong, or we are bad, and it creates all this shame inside of us that we don't really know on a conscious level. This is all unconscious, subconscious feelings, right? That drive our behaviors, that drive our personality, that drive the inner critic, which is what we're really here to talk about, this inner critic that we have. So even if mom and dad don't say anything, even if the world at large doesn't say anything, even if our friends, our spouse, or whoever, our boss, don't say a thing, often when we do something, we're waiting. We're waiting for that look. We're waiting for that feeling. And we turn on ourselves. The brain is very funny. In order to protect you and keep you safe and keep you in a state of acceptance and belonging for everybody that you meet, your brain picks up where your parents left off, okay? And it will do the same thing. It will do this to you. And so this is where self-hate comes in, right? Because we start to criticize and judge ourselves, our thoughts, our actions, and even our feelings. Now, you can't control an emotion, right? You can't control your emotions. Your emotions are valid. There's no emotion that is wrong, from sadness to anger to however you feel. But yet, when we think something or we feel something, and we don't think that our parents or society or our boss or our friends or our spouse or whoever, our children, whatever would understand, we internalize this is that we're a bad person, and we often turn on ourselves in harsh judgments and criticisms and words, and we hold things against ourselves. We hold ourselves to this standard that we think better thoughts, that we be better people, right? That we don't have these emotions of hate or anger or guilt or shame. We start to turn on ourselves with all our feelings inside, and we think, you're a loser, you're not good enough, if you were only stronger, if you weren't such a baby, if you weren't so weak, if you had more willpower. We really start to talk mean to ourselves. Now, this is a subconscious pattern. This is an unconscious pattern. And we're not really hating ourselves. We're not really mean to ourselves. We do it to push ourselves. We do it to push ourselves to be better, to think better, to act better, so that nobody else, not our boss, not our friends, not that acquaintance or the neighbor down the street, or God forbid, not our parents, will give us a look of disapproval, or will make us feel judged or outcasted or abandoned, or that we don't belong. So we do it to ourselves so that nobody else can do it to us. We think, if I can only catch everything, every thought, every behavior, every feeling, every emotion that isn't good, that isn't up to standards, that isn't up to societal standards, if I push myself to be better in every area, then nobody will abandon me, nobody will leave me, nobody will think badly of me, nobody will judge me, nobody will criticize me. I won't have to feel that overwhelming fear inside that everybody will leave me and I will be alone if they only find out who and what I am and what I think inside and what I feel. And so we are so hard on ourselves. And this self-criticizer, this self-judger, is really a form of self-hate. Now, this is all unconscious, this is all subconscious, and we're mean to ourselves. We motivate ourselves with this criticism, this self-criticism, this self-judgment, and it becomes a form of self-hate. So often our personality traits become that of self-pleasers. We do everything to please others. We desperately want to belong, right? To be accepted. Or we're perfectionists. We never think our work is good enough. We drive ourselves harder, right? Often we can sabotage ourselves, right? These are qualities of people who have chronic illness, who have chronic pain, chronic fatigue, chronic suffering, multiple chemical sensitivities, you name it, cancer, fibromyalgia, multiple sclerosis. I could go on and on. We're perfectionists, and when we're not getting our healing right, when we try everything and we're not getting our healing right, we are especially hard on ourselves. We call ourselves the worst. We have the worst kind of hate for ourselves. You idiot, why aren't you healed yet? How can you still be so sick? You're a loser. You've tried everything. Nothing works for you. I hate you. You hate your body. You want yourself to be better so bad. And you play out this unconscious, subconscious pattern that you do self-criticism, criticism and self-judgment and extreme self-hate, because your life depends on you healing, and you think you can't even do that. You can't even heal properly. You can't even get this right. So the shame and the guilt that you feel and the hate that you inflict on yourself and the criticism and the judgment and the driving yourself to be better and to do better comes out so much, even more, when you really want to heal and you feel you can't. You feel every person in society, your parents, every person, even God, looking at you, blaming you, hating you. This is your worst fear about to come true. If you can't heal, you will be judged, criticized, and abandoned by all, including yourself, all the way into your grave, right? Your worst fear coming true. And so this is why we internalize these feelings so strongly. And we're so hard on ourselves, and we have this self-hate. We think it's for a good reason. We think it's because it's going to drive us to do better at healing, to heal better, to heal faster. We think this hate is going to push us. This criticism, the way we're treating ourselves and the way we speak to ourselves is going to somehow make healing happen so that all of our worst fears don't come true. But don't you see, we can never heal if we're in self-hate. We have to be in self-acceptance and love and kindness and compassion to ourselves. We have to be in a state of belonging and acceptance with ourselves. We have to make peace with ourselves first before we can allow the world to not judge us, to help us. We can extend a hand, right? We can ask for help, ask for love, we can ask for compassion. We can trust other people not to be judging us and criticizing us. Trust to let people in, to stop self-isolating, to stop self-harming, to stop everything that we're doing to ourselves. We first have to make peace with ourselves, and it starts with the criticism and the judgment and ultimately the hate that we're inflicting on ourselves over the fact that we're not healing fast enough, that we're not good enough, that we're not worthy enough, and that we'll never belong, right? This is where the work starts, right here. It's so important that you understand this. And I know some of you have been doing work on yourselves and you're saying, but no, I am giving myself encouragement. I'm loving myself. I'm being more compassionate with myself. I'm trying really hard. And when you're having good days, you're really saying kind things to yourself. You're doing it. But as soon as a setback happens or a really bad day happens or your pain flares up or something happens, the first instinct is to be so disappointed. In who? In yourself. You're sharing that disappointment with yourself. You're so gutted and you're so disappointed in yourself, your body, your own mind. And whether or not that comes out as mean self-criticism and judgment comments to yourself, the fact that you are so disappointed in yourself, think back to a time when you were a little kid and your parents were so disappointed in you. That was often even worse than when they screamed at you or told you weren't good enough or that you had to get your grades up or that you didn't do something good enough. Just the sheer feeling of you have just disappointed them so much that they're not even going to judge or criticize you. That was the worst. So when you get these setbacks or symptoms or whatever and you feel this deep disappointment in yourself, that is one of the worst ways and feelings that you can feel to yourself. And it is a deep expression of self-hate, right? You're so disappointed in yourself. You'll never be good enough. It's hopeless. You're hopeless. Don't you understand the messages that you're telling yourself? I'll never be able to do it. It's hopeless. I'm crushed. I feel destroyed. I'm not good enough, right? You tell yourself what a failure you are. And that feeling of feeling like a failure to your own self is maybe even worse. It's like you're a failure to everyone, to the whole world, and even to God. And it is never a way that you can heal when you feel this amount of disappointment, and self-loathing and self-hate and guilt. Sorry, this wind. Sometimes when we're this disappointed in ourselves, when we have this much self-hate in the form of disappointment, we can give up in this state. Oftentimes when we're mean to ourselves and self-critical and self-judging, we act out and we work harder and we put more pressure on ourselves, and we can engage in destructive behavior or acting out in different ways. We can sabotage ourselves. If you can eat the wrong foods, or you can say what the hell, and just go and do the things because you're so angry at yourself. But when you're so disappointed in yourself and you feel like there's no hope and you're not worth it and you're just not fundamentally good enough, that's when we really get into this hopeless and helpless feeling, this feeling of what's the point? And this is where, the low points, and people who often, can even give up on themselves, stop trying altogether, commit suicide, right? Totally 100% abandon themselves or self-isolate and just say there's no point, it's not worth it. And giving up on yourself is the greatest act of self-hate that there is, right? We have to learn to say, no matter what, I love you, I will not abandon you, I will not give up on you, you are worth it, I will be here with you, you are worth it no matter what else, no matter what, you're worth it, I love you, and I'll never give up on you. That is where we need to get to never ever give up on ourselves, right? To be kind, to say loving things to ourselves, to give ourselves compliments, to encourage ourselves, right? We're going to start to break these bad patterns because they're patterns based on something that programmed us when we were children that we don't even remember, which is just pleasing mom and dad, right? And mom and dad would not want this for us. They want us to love ourselves, to be kind to ourselves, to be good to ourselves, to keep trying, to not give up. Okay, so we've taken something that we were programmed with when we were little as a way to feel safe and to belong and to feel loved and to get love and acceptance and praise from your parents. And if you can't live up to your own internal standards, you're harsh on yourself, you're critical, you judge yourself, and ultimately you can be so disappointed in yourself and you can give up on yourself. So this is like where it turns from, the pattern is playing out. It's subconscious, it's unconscious. We don't want this, yet it plays out. It plays out from our history, and one thing building on the next until we're here in this spot. And we realize that all those times that we spoke meanly to ourselves, that we said bad things to ourselves, that we criticized ourselves, that we felt that we weren't good enough, that we internalized others' judgments and criticisms, and that we allowed ourselves to feel less than, not good enough, abandoned, right? Unsafe, that we don't belong, that it doesn't matter. These were patterns that were formed, and they're just that. And we can take these thoughts that we have, these are thoughts now, and we can change them with repetition, constant repetition. We can change the negative into the positive. We can change the negative self-talk into positive self-talk, into love for self, encouragement for self, right? Patience for self. This unconditional being there for yourself, right? I'm not saying to change the negative into positives, like, oh, I have a headache, and then say a positive affirmation, I'm totally healthy and I'm free of that. I don't mean that. I mean, what is the emotion that you're feeling when you have a headache? Like, I'm tired, I'm not good enough, I feel rejected, I feel left out, I feel lonely, I feel sad, right? And then you can say to yourself a more sorry, that is so surprising. That one guy jumps out every time I'm walking or doing a video and scares the bejesus out of me. Sound like my grandma, the bejesus. Anyway, okay. So all that said, we have these automatic negative thoughts that creep in all the time based on these subconscious patterns that we have in our upbringing and everything that we've done. We've gotten really good at criticizing, judging ourselves in order to do better, feel better, and be more acceptable to society at large and to ourselves. So we've just gotten into the habit, we've gotten into the pattern, we've gotten really, really, really good at it. So the first thing is that you must become aware. And I say this often because it's the first step in healing anything. It's like, become aware. Every time you have an automatic negative thought, right, an automatic critical or judging or self-hating thought, you have to catch yourself. You have to become aware. You have to notice it, become aware of it, and say to yourself, this is an automatic, negative, self-hating thought. It's just a pattern, and I'm going to break it. We have to get really good at noticing and becoming aware so that we can replace it and break it. Okay, so once we do that, once we become aware, every time, no exceptions, every time you start to feel down on yourself, you're judging yourself, you're criticizing yourself, you're giving up on yourself, you're feeling hopeless, you're feeling abandoned, you're feeling guilty, you're feeling shame, you're feeling any of these negative feelings, stop. And know that this is a pattern that you've gotten really good at, and we have to become aware. Be a drill sergeant. Don't let any of these thoughts slip by, because you have to be ruthless in hunting them down. There's one, there's one, there's one, there's one. Pretend you're playing a video game, and every time you shoot at the bird and it goes poof or whatever, you're getting one, you're getting one, you're getting one. You have to be ruthless at shooting down these tiny little video game birds, which are just automatic, negative, self-hating thoughts, right? We have to be aware. And right now you're not aware. If you're living with this as a problem and living with a chronic condition, you are not aware. You're not aware. Every time you're not catching yourself, you're in a story, you're in a trance, you're playing out a pattern, and you're not aware that these are self-deprecating negative thoughts, automatic thoughts that are popping up that you can change, okay? That you can allow yourself to change. We can gun them all down, okay? We can get them all. You're getting points for everyone that you get. You get a point. So imagine if this is a game, you're getting tons of points for finding them. Okay, so once you've become aware of your negative self-thoughts, then what do? I am not asking you to change them all into positive self-thoughts. I am not asking you to change them into positive self-thoughts. I don't think that's where the healing is. Why not? Because we're saying we're wrong to think these negative thoughts, and we actually subconsciously judge and criticize ourselves and are harder on ourselves because we're having these thoughts that are somehow wrong that we need to change into positive thoughts. So what I'm asking you to do is hunt down these thoughts and be ruthless. Like you're playing a video game, every time you see it, you spot it, the target, you shoot at it, you notice it. That is a shooting. It's just becoming aware. Once you're aware that you've got a self-negative, self-loathing, any kind of a negative thought or feeling or pattern, subconscious pattern that you're playing out, right? I want you to notice it, and then I want you to do this. This is the healing work. I want you to practice radical self-love and radical self-acceptance. Every time, no matter what. So we don't let any thoughts, not even one, slip by our awareness. We notice them, we become aware, we totally recognize this is a pattern, this is a negative thought, a negative feeling, it's destructive, and it's filled with self-hate. Now, the way you practice radical self-love and radical self-healing is that once you realize that, once you see that negative pattern or that negative thought, you don't try to change it into positive. You say, I see you and I accept you fully. I love you completely. I love you. You see the self-hate. You see that you want to give up on yourself, or that you're mean to yourself, or that you're saying something critical, and you say, I fully accept you now. You're 100% allowed to feel this way. You're 100% allowed to have this feeling. I love you anyway. I accept you as you are right now. You don't need to change. You don't need to be anything different. And I love you. I love you even though you have this feeling, even though you have this guilt or this shame or this feeling that you need to give up on yourself. I love you. And I accept you. And I don't try to change you. I don't want you to be different. I want you to know I accept and love you just as you are. You're not bad. You're not doing anything wrong. You're okay just as you are, and I love you. And don't you see, we're not asking it to change, but we're talking differently to ourselves. Instead of saying, I hate you, you're wrong, you should go away, you're an idiot, you should be better than this. You're saying, I accept you, I see you just as you are. It's okay to feel this way. I love you, I am with you. You're safe, I won't abandon you. You're literally changing your speak to positive self speak, to loving self speak. So you're not necessarily changing the thought, you're changing the way that you love yourself. You're changing the negative self-talk and the negative self-hatred into positive self-talk, into loving self-talk, into accepting self-talk every single time. So we are not making ourselves wrong for having these feelings. We're not making ourselves wrong for having these emotions or these thoughts or these spiraling thoughts or these patterns that we can't seem to stop. This is not about blame or shame. We are not doing anything wrong. We're noticing it. We're saying, I love you. I want better for you. You deserve better. And I love you, and it's okay just as you are. I love you just as you are. I accept you just as you are. I accept you. I'm here with you. I'm here with you. You take a deep breath. You start to calm your nervous system because you're here and you love yourself. I'm not going to give up on you. I'm not going to abandon you. I won't leave you. And I'll never stop loving you no matter what you think, no matter what you say. You could never do anything to make me stop loving you or accepting you. I'll never give up on you. I'm here. And then you start to change it, and we can do this. We can think better things. We can stop these patterns. And then you can go, once you're feeling better, you can start to replace it. Not as a way to be wrong to yourself or make yourself wrong or that you have to do this, but as a way to guide yourself into feeling better. Like, I love you. It's okay. Let's try again. Let's try to break this pattern. What if we thought this? What if we changed it to this? What if we just got up and kept living? What if we, stopped arguing? What if we did this? What if we did that? I'm here for you. I love you. Try it. You can do it. You're okay. You can break this pattern. We can break this pattern. I'm here for you. You're like a champion, right? You're like your own little cheerleader. I love you. Try to change the pattern. I love you. I accept you. Even if you can't change it, I accept you. I'm proud of you for trying. Proud of you for trying. So we never, ever, be ruthless. Find and become aware of everything that is in your way. Pop them. Pop the balloons. Pop them. Become aware. It's like, poof, I see it. It's a pattern. It's a negative thought. It's a self-hating thought. Change it. Not change the thought, change how you're speaking to yourself. Self-love, 100% radical love and acceptance. That's what it takes, radical self-love and acceptance of yourself in this moment. With love and gentle encouragement and a willingness to change and grow and be better and do better. And, right? We're not a critical parent who's judging us or giving us the evil eye or making us feel like if we can't live up to it, we're going to abandon yourself. Never. You will never abandon yourself. It's more like, I believe in you. You can do anything you put your mind to, right? Let me help you. Let's do this together. Try again. It's just practice. It takes practice. Keep practicing. It's like you're encouraging a young child. Keep practicing. Don't worry that you can't get it the first time. Keep practicing. I believe in you. I love you. I accept you. Even if you never can do it, to the child, keep practicing. It'll be fun. I believe in you. You'll get better. You'll see. And even if you don't, I'll still love and accept you completely as you are. 100% full, unconditional love and acceptance. And this is what it takes to change, I believe, the inner critic, right? We're changing the inner critic. We're now becoming the loving champion. Radical self-love and acceptance. That's what it takes, and you have to be ruthless. You really do. So I hope this video has been helpful. I hope it's inspired you to actually be ruthless, hunt down these thoughts, never stay in those thoughts, right? Never stay in that self-hate, that self-spiral of shame and guilt, and never stay there. Love yourself and accept yourself through it, right? Change it to something better. Love yourself. Love yourself. Let the love inspire you to change it.